Yo, what's up guys? Today we're looking at Zelesis AI. Now, if you've been keeping up with the scene, you know that traditional cheats are getting nuked left and right because they're too easy to detect, but Zelesis is different. This is a universal AI aim assistant that works on basically any FPS. We're talking like Fortnite, Warzone, Roblox, and Sis2. The reason this is staying undetected while other stuff is getting banned is simple. It doesn't even touch your game files. Traditional aimbot inject code into the game or read its memory to find players, which is exactly what EAC, Ricochet, or even Vanguard are looking for, which is very bad. Zelesis uses visual networks and actually sees your screen just like you do. It scans the pixel in real time to identify enemy shapes and then send them to your mouse as an input. Because it's purely visual and external, the game just thinks you're a good player. Plus, the movement isn't that robotic snap you're used to seeing. It uses EMNI's smoothing, so your cursor move in a natural curve. Anyway, I'm going to show you some raw gameplay from a few different games so you can see the tracking for yourself. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, I'm currently in Warzone and let me launch Zelesis. So as you can see, this beautiful UI will pop up and just like that, we're successfully loaded in. You can put game profiles, so you can put whatever you want, Call of Duty and everything. You just put your settings in and you'll be good to go. Now, next for the capture, just use the standard one. That's the best one in my opinion. Works very good. You can change the capture FPS, the monitor you want to capture on, or the FOV. For the target, you can change body, aim, feet, etc. And to recall, trigger bot or auto aim shooting range targets. Mouse, just press enable aimbot and you can change your smoothness you want for and the imagination to be more legit. You can predict the aim and I put Win32 for the mouse movement, but you can use Logitech, Arduino, KMBox, Maxu, whatever you want. For the AI settings, I always change my confidence. Model, I just use universal, but you gotta choose the game you want for. So example, you play Fortnite, you gotta put the model for Fortnite. Now, for the buttons, you have a controller, so it does work, but you need a VMG bus, which is a controller output. For the overlay settings, you have stream proof. If I enable it, you don't see no more everything. And we have visual overlay, boxes, show target, show confidence, show box style, tracers, show FPS, etc. All those good stuff, guys. And for the advanced, it's more for developer stuff and if you have any question. So yeah.
Alright, so because a lot of people would appreciate an actual tutorial on how to use this, I'm going to record this quickly. So when you're first opening Zelesis, it's gonna look something like this. It'll ask you for admin and all that because I want the developer build of it. But anyway, so you'll see this. It will probably get to a point and ask you to put in your key. Obviously, you can just find that in your email. Sometimes the email takes a few minutes to arrive, or sometimes it's in your like junk folder or something like that. But you'll get that. You put your key in, and then it'll load a bit more and it'll get to the model building part. It only has to happen one time when you first install, and it takes maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. That just means it's compiling these models for you to use, like the universal one, specifically for your GPU, so it just takes a bit. So once you're in Zelesis, the first thing you want to think about is what game you're going to be playing on, because of course Zelesis supports all games, so not just the ones in this list, but it does support all of these, especially. Every single FPS game pretty much you can use it on. So depending on what game you're using it on, you're going to want to select that here, or if it's not here you can just do custom and it's pretty much, you'll be fine. So since obviously just for testing for this little tutorial I'm using Roblox, so I set my thing to Roblox here. I set my mouse DPI here to my actual mouse DPI, so you can find this in whatever mouse software, like if you have a Logitech mouse, then the Logitech software will show you what DPI you have. If you have a different mouse, then different software can show you, or you can just guess if you really don't know, or look it up for your mouse if it doesn't have any software or something like that. You just want to put in your mouse DPI here. It helps Zelesis just calibrate the aiming better. So see this in-game sensitivity, you'll need to set this to your actual sensitivity in the game. So once you've set your game profile here to whatever game you're playing, you're going to want to go into the game and into the settings and just see what your sensitivity is in the game, and then set that number right here. And these settings will look slightly different for different games because not all games have these settings. So like if I selected like a totally different game like CS2 or something like that, it would show some different sliders here to match the settings that are in that game. So you get the idea. You just want to match these to whatever you're using in the game. Once you've done that, you're going to be good. I guess the next thing you would want to worry about after this is actually getting the aimbot to work in the game first of all. So you're going to want to check what FPS Zelesis is getting. So you can see right here, mine says paused. That's because it's paused. So you can press numpad 0 to unpause it. You get this nice little, boxes around the enemy and stuff. So if you don't have a numpad 0, you can, of course, rebind it. It's just right here. You can also use F3 by default. I think it might actually be F2 by default to unpause as well. There's different, you can just change the buttons to whatever you want. So once you've unpaused it, you're going to see that little FPS there. For you, it may be in the top left of your screen like this, or it may be in the center. You're just going to want to look at that and just see what FPS you're getting with Zelesis. Any FPS between about 55 to 65, anywhere around that range, that's going to be great. Any higher FPS than that is going to make Zelesis, the aimbot's aim much better. So the higher FPS in Zelesis, the better. If you don't see a high FPS, if you're getting like 20 FPS in Zelesis, it's very simple to fix it. All you're going to want to do is go into whatever game you're playing, into the settings, and you're going to want to just limit the game FPS a bit. If you have your game FPS uncapped, it means your GPU is going to be working really hard to render like 300 FPS in your game, right? And then it's not going to have any resources left over for Zelesis. And if you're still getting bad FPS, you can cap the FPS lower in your game, or you can lower the game graphics, which also helps a lot. And that should, pretty much in all cases, you'll get a pretty good FPS. Zelesis does support AMD cards and NVIDIA cards. NVIDIA cards are just inherently a lot faster at running AI, so you probably get much better results with that. But we do support AMD cards, and you don't need a super good card to run it, especially if you're playing a game that's not very demanding. So once you have a good FPS going, you're going to want to go into your game and go into some kind of shooting range or something like that. So, in Roblox, just for an example here, I'm in the shooting range of rivals, and you're going to want to go to the mouse tab, and you can mess with your aim strength. So this basically controls how quickly the aimbot is going to aim at the target. So, if I set this all the way up to 100, it's going to be a bit too quick. It's going to see how it's overshooting the target like that, and it's not really locking straight onto it. So if it's going extremely quickly, like you're using Zelesis, you're coming over the target, you're shooting, and it goes like this, then you're definitely going to want to lower the aim strength significantly, because what that means is it's just sending the input way too quickly. So it's very simple to fix. You're just going to want to lower the aim strength, or you're going to want to recheck, make sure that you have your game sensitivity and stuff set correctly, because Zelesis you might have set it incorrectly, and it might be calculating this stuff incorrectly. So if it's going way too fast, then you're going to want to lower this. If it's going too slowly, you're going to want to raise it. So, for me, for this game, about 75, you can see, lock straight on like that. It's pretty damn, effective. I can jump around. I'm not even moving my mouse at all. It's just, I'm literally not moving my mouse at all, and kill them. I could maybe raise it a bit, it's pretty good. And of course this works on players as well. So, for me, I have the shooting. So this is target. This is when the aimbot will start moving your aim, basically, when you're holding either of these buttons. So you can set this to whatever you want. It's best to set it to left mouse button and right mouse button, so that if you're pressing either of these, it's going to aim to the target. So, just check what buttons you're going to want to use to aim in the game, and just, set that. So for me, it's if I ADS, it'll aim in, or if I start shooting, it'll aim at the target. So yeah. Here, of course, we do have enable controller as well. Zelesis supports controller. I'll get into that later. Once you've got that, and you've got your aiming and everything, and you've got your sensitivity, hopefully you find some good sensitivity that works. You should make sure your game isn't in exclusive full screen, because that will make it so that Zelesis can't actually record the game properly or show you the overlay, because an exclusive full screen window can't have any GUI elements over the top of it. It's basically just make sure your game is in borderless window or something like that, otherwise you may have issues. So just keep that in mind. If you're in the game and the overlay is showing and you're getting fine FPS and everything, but it's just not aiming, if I was shooting here and it just wasn't aiming over at all, right? Then what you're gonna want to check is what game you're actually playing, because not every game can use the same input methods. So as you can see here, so this you don't really need to worry about, because no one's ever actually gotten banned for Zelesis, so there's nothing like that. Some people have been manually banned, one of our mods was way too blatant on Valorant, so you can see there. But anyway, to do with the aiming, what you're going to worry about is these symbols here. So the tick means that you can use this default method Win32 in the game, right? If it's this green heart, it just means that you have to switch over to G-Hub, and you know, if you set, it'll tell you if you don't actually have the correct one installed, like right here, because I don't use G-Hub, so I don't have the correct one installed. I have the most recent one because I actually have a Logitech mouse. So it'll tell you that, it'll detect that, and then you want to click on this, and it'll bring you up in your browser a tutorial on how to set that up. And that's basically just a bypass. If the game you're playing has this green heart, that's what you need to do. If the game you want to play has this yellow the baby symbol, like Fortnite or Apex, or you know, games that have these really aggressive anti-cheats, Valorant. So these are the only games that we know of currently that actually need it. Every single other game that's pretty much ever been made won't need any of this stuff, but it'll just need you to switch between either Win32 or G-Hub. But if your game has one of these, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get yourself one of these external input methods. So Arduino, definitely the cheapest option, probably the simplest option to set up for a lot of these, like Fortnite. It's like a few dollars and it just takes a few minutes to set it up, and you're going to be good to go forever to play any of these games. You know, if you've been cheating for a while, or you're more serious, you might already have one of these ones that are much more expensive, in my opinion, a bit overpriced, but then you can just select that and it should just work with Zelesis. We support all of that. The one other thing to worry about, you can see here, Valorant, it says you may need a host shield. So what that means is, I mean, you can look all this stuff up. It's basically just an extra little thing that makes it so you can plug your mouse into the Arduino directly. So to your computer it appears that you only have a single mouse connected instead of having the Arduino connected and your mouse connected separately. It's a lot to cover in one video, but it's quite simple. You can see all of that on the tutorial here. So if you select Arduino and it doesn't detect you have one, then it'll give you a button here and it'll take you straight to the setup tutorial, and it'll show you how to set that up and everything, like every step. It's very, very simple. It's only 4 steps. If you're doing Valorant, you may need to do the more complicated steps, or you could just pick another one of these. Anything works, don't need to worry about it too much. For Roblox, it's completely fine with Win32, as you can see here. It probably says it somewhere. Right here, yeah, tick Win32. So, I have Arduino anyway, so that's why I'm using it on Roblox. But you could just use Win32 and you'd be completely fine. So that's what you need to do. If your aim just isn't working, just make sure you're on the correct input method for your game, right? So yeah, pretty easy. Just to cover a few other things, obviously we have anti-recoil here. You can set this up however you want. We have trigger bot. This is really good for like snipers in rivals stuff. You don't really need to worry about. I wouldn't recommend using auto aim because it makes it so it's going to constantly aim to the target. So as soon as it's on my screen, you can see it's aiming towards it. A lot of the times you might think you want that, but it's not exactly preferable. So I'd recommend not having that, but you can use it if that's what you really want. So yeah, of course, nothing's stopping you. A few other things, predict aim. So this is really helpful for moving targets. So you can see, let me unmute the game. So you can see I turned off predict aim just now. And now when I shoot at this target, you can see it's kind of, when I move around, it's kind of not aiming so straight onto it. You can see there, it's not really getting quite onto it like that. So that's what predict aim does. It makes it aim, it corrects for that. It makes it aim like, much better right at the center of the target like that. Yeah, you can see much better. Another thing I should definitely mention is that you can see how for me it's aiming at the middle of the body. That's just how I wanted it for this game. But you can change target location here, so you can see head, it'll aim straight at that head, 24/7. Much better, and you can use that, of course. It's not just Roblox, any game you can set it to that. Just for me, I wanted to aim at the body in this game because it's a bit of a... The hitbox in this game is not really the best, The developers of Rivals, not really the smartest people, but it's just how I have mine set up. You can change this. So if I change this to like negative, you'll see it's gonna aim like above the head. You're probably not gonna want that. You can really set this to whatever you want. You can set it to aim, all the way at the feet if you want to with this custom thing. So another thing I do want to definitely mention is that if for some reason you're getting like 0 FPS in Zelesis, it's just showing like nothing, or it's not showing any boxes or anything like that, then what you're definitely going to want to do is just come over here and change the capture method in the capture tab here. You can really set it to anything If you're getting low FPS, maybe I'd recommend going over to WinRT because it could be a bit faster. Or if duplication API isn't working, WinRT isn't working, you're getting 0 FPS, you can switch over to GDI. This one's very compatible, so if you have an old version of Windows 10 or some such like that, definitely go with GDI. It's just, you know, pretty much guaranteed to like work on every single system and every configuration. So that's why we have 3, because like sometimes one of these just doesn't work for someone, so just, you know, switch it out to your heart's content. Of course, you can also come over and change what monitor it's recording on. So if I change this to like monitor 2, the whole, you can't see it, but you know, the whole you know, FOV circle and everything's over on monitor 2. I'll switch it back. So you can also set your capture FPS here. I have mine on 190 because I have a 190 Hz monitor, so it just makes sense for me to set it like that. One other thing I should definitely mention is that in some games like Fortnite, right, you might have a third-person character. It's a bit hard to show, but maybe if I emote, I can kind of show you what I mean. So say I was playing Fortnite and my camera is like this, and you know, my character might be just over to the side, like, you know, it might be like right here. And it might be inside the FOV circle, right, which is a problem. Because then Zelesis is going to want to aim at your character, like you can see here when I go into third person, it's aiming at my character. So, which is a problem. Like let's pretend this red thing was your Fortnite character, right? So it's in the thing there. You can see a box around it, and we don't want that. So you can actually come in here. First thing you want to do is turn on render custom FOV circle, and then you can come in here and you can actually customize it with these nice little things. I coded this GUI myself. took a bit of, you know, care. So we can bring that in a bit, and now, you know, my little red guy, you know, he's not in there anymore. See the red guy on the left there? He's not being detected. That's exactly what you want, because you don't want your own character being detected. So, you know, if that's a problem in whatever game you're playing, a third-person game, definitely consider doing that. Or if, you know, your gun or your hands are being detected for some reason, definitely going to want to customize that. It's very good, very, very effective way to fix that. So yeah, that's, you know, that's if you're playing like a third-person game. In the AI tab, you can see here, you can select different models for different games. So if you're playing like, you know, Fortnite, PUBG, obviously the Roblox model extremely effective for Roblox, Valorant model extremely good for Valorant. But ignore this one, this is just because I'm on the dev build once again, so you won't have that. So don't worry about that. But if your game isn't on here, then you definitely want to just gonna want to go with Universal. Universal model is very, very good. All of our models are very good. Except maybe the Fortnite one, you can decide if you want to use Fortnite or Universal. If you're playing Fortnite, Universal might actually work better, it's up to you. But yeah, if your game isn't on here, like you're playing Battlefield 6, Rainbow Six Siege, the finals, you know, any game pretty much, you can use the Universal model and it's going to work really, really well for you in that game. I also want to say that the AI confidence should definitely explain the AI confidence. So basically, the lower this is, the more likely. So if I set this to 0.1, it's probably just going to... Oh. Huh. That actually works. That's strange. But if I set this to something too high, you can see it's not detecting the target anymore, because this means that AI would have to have a confidence of 1, which is pretty much impossible. So you're not going to want to do that. You're probably going to want to set this around, you know, around maybe like 0.2 to 0.4. If you notice that it's making a lot of false detections, you're going to want to raise this up a little bit, you know, maybe more around 0.4, maybe even up to 0.5. That'll mean that it'll detect less things, so you'll get less false detections and it'll only detect things that it's more sure of that are people. If it's not detecting people sometimes, it's not being super consistent, then you're going to want to lower this down a bit. You know, you can find the sweet spot. For me, for this game, it's probably around quite low, because I really want it to, you know, there's not that many things in the background of this game. It's very simplistic, so there's not really any false detections. See, it works, you know, pretty well. This guy, yeah, anyway. Yeah. So you can just mess with this. Maybe I should lower mine, because it wasn't detecting that guy. Maybe I should go with, like, you know, something like that. It's quite low. But yeah, just mess with that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a lot of other things you can see here, like if I go and like unpause it, you can see all your little timing stuff here. It's pretty interesting. You can also pull up our Discord and all of this stuff here. You can see your version, everything. Also, there is different languages. If you would like me to add another language, just let me know. I can do it quite easily. So about how to use controller, pretty much you just want to go to the buttons tab here and enable this. It'll give you a prompt to install something and you can just set it up pretty easily. Then what you're going to want to do is make sure that you go to these buttons and bind them to your controller inputs. So for your targeting, it'll be whatever you want to, your shooting button on your controller, maybe your ADS button on your controller. Then you want to change shoot to whatever button it is on the controller to actually shoot in the game, is what you're going to want to set that as. And then you can, obviously set any of these to whatever you want as well. That's just the main thing. That's pretty much it. This will turn into the controller tab instead of mouse. And then you can just adjust the controller sensitivity instead of aim strength, and you pretty much got the same thing. So using controller is very simple. Also, I want to mention that with controller, you don't have to worry about input method. You don't have to, if you want to use a controller, you don't need an Arduino or any external input method, because the controller inputs are handled like totally differently. So you don't need anything special. Like you literally just set that up and yeah, it'll be good. You don't need any external thing to use it. So if you like to play on controller, there's no problem. It's very easy to set up. Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to get set up with it. So I hope, if you're having any issues, if you just watch this whole thing, you'll get it sorted out. And yeah, of course, if you're having issues and your issue is not in this tutorial, the best place to reach out to us is on Discord here, and you can open a ticket, and me or one of the mods one of the staff will get back to you, and we can sort out your issue. Enjoy. You feel free to reach out to us in Discord, any questions, any feedback. Also, just a good community over there. We got like configs and stuff you can get, and you can make suggestions there and everything. So hope this helped, and have a good day.